So let me actually just jump right in to the iPad. So we are going to start with the settings, which if you are not familiar, this little gear icon right here in the bottom left is the settings. All right, so let's open this up. And I got a message that the audio and my lip movement is a little off, so let me know if that's distracting and I'll turn it off. There's just a few times I'd like to use the webcam to show you some gestures that we're going to be doing, but let me know if that's distracting and I'll turn it off for now. Okay, so in the settings, the first thing we want to do is we're going to go over on the left-hand side here to General. And once we're there, there's just a few things that we want to check out before we get started. So the first software update, if you see a little 1 over here, that means you need to update your iPad software. I would definitely make sure you do that as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and click on where it says About. And we'll just want to make sure down a little ways, kind of in the middle where it says version. We just want to make sure that you're on 5 point something or 6 point something. So you don't want to be on 4 point something. So hopefully everyone is on 5 or 6 point something. That's the first thing to check. And if you're on 4 point something, just send me a message in the question box, which is on the right-hand side, and I'll give you some advice on that. All right, so we're just going to hit this tab right here to go back to General. And the next thing we want to look at is this auto lock and the passcode lock. So what your passcode lock is it basically means whenever you lock the screen of your iPad, which you do by clicking this top button right here, whenever you click that button, it's going to lock your iPad so that in order to get into your iPad and start using your apps, you have to enter in a 4-digit passcode. I highly recommend using this. If you're going to be using your iPad for business, then you're going to have a little bit of sensitive information on there, or maybe information that shouldn't be in the wrong hands. So if you ever leave your iPad somewhere, you want to make sure that that information is as protected as it possibly can be. So I highly recommend using a passcode lock. You can use something, just use a 4-digit number that you're going to remember and keep that on at all times. I highly recommend that. So if we scroll down a little bit further, you'll see there's a section that's called Use Side Switch To. And what this means, on your iPad, over on the side, you'll notice there's basically 2 buttons. There's like an up and down button, and then there's also a slider button. So if you slide that slider button normally and on a similar button on your iPhones, what it will do is mute it. But what you want to do is actually, here's the button, if you can see that. So what you're going to want to do is say that you actually want to use this side switch to lock the rotation. This just makes it easier as you're walking around with your iPad, maybe handing it off to clients or demoing something on it for your clients. Just make sure that it's not going to go all wonky and go from, portrait to landscape over and over again. So if you want to mute your iPad really quickly, these buttons right here, the up and down buttons, you can just hold down the down one for a little while and it'll mute it completely anyways. So you don't really lose any functionality doing that, and it makes it just a lot easier for you. All right. So down a little bit further, there's this section called multitasking gestures. You're going to want to make sure this is on. Now let me show you some of the cool things you can do with this. So what I'm going to do, if you go over to your home button, which is this bottom button right here, and if you double click on that with your finger, it'll bring up this section down here, which is sometimes called like the multitasking bar. And what this is showing is just all of the apps that I've used recently. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to click up here on my screen again to get rid of that. Now I'm going to take 4 fingers, so just like you're holding up the number 4, just like this, and I'm going to put it on my iPad, and then I'm going to pull over to the left, almost like I'm pulling. And you'll see as I do that, it's just going to take me through all of the apps that I have open. And I can go back and forth with that. So did everybody catch that? So 4 fingers, put it on your iPad, and swipe over to the side. and it'll just pull up any apps that you have open. You can also take 4 fingers, put it at the bottom of your screen, and then lift up, almost like you're pushing it up like that. And if you do that, that will show the multitasking bar as well. And then you can simply click on the app that you want to go to. All right. So if we're good with those multitasking gestures, the last thing I want to show you is under accessibility. If you click on accessibility, and then we're going to scroll down to the very bottom, and you're going to see this section that says guided access. What guided access is it basically allows you to lock down your iPad so that you can force somebody to stay only on the app that you want them to stay on. This will come into play a little bit later. For most of you, it will be off. You can leave it off for now. I'll show you as we're going through. I'll kind of show you what it looks like, and you can decide if that's something that you want to use. All right. Now I'm just going to take a little poll here. And I just want to find out, what type of phone does everyone have? All you have to do is go ahead and just click on the screen to select what type of phone you have. We'll just give everyone a couple more minutes here. All right. So it looks like the vast majority of you have an iPhone, which is great. For Android users, I'll give you a couple tips and tricks on using your iPad and using an Android phone. But it really is best to keep, it doesn't so much matter what type of computer you have, but it is best to keep your tablet, which is your iPad, and then your smartphone on the same platform. So obviously iPhone and iPad are on the same platform. Android and iPad are not. That doesn't mean, you Android users, that you should run out and go get an Android tablet, or you should run out and go get an iPhone. Definitely not. There's still plenty of ways to work around it. But having an iPhone and an iPad, or having an Android phone and an Android tablet, just makes everything work together a little bit better. So that's perfect. All right. So what I'm going to do now, I'm still in the settings. So this little gear icon right here. And I'm going to go down to this little area right here that says iCloud. Now for you iPhone users, what you're going to want to make sure is up here where it says account. This isn't necessarily your main email account. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a working email. So don't worry about what email address is here. What you're going to want to worry about is you want to make sure that this email address, it functions more like a username. So you're going to want to make sure that this email address is the same as the email address on your iPhone. So if you were to go to your iPhone and go to your settings and go to iCloud and look at this account, you're going to want to make sure that those two email addresses are the same. Hopefully that makes sense. So basically what that does is it just keeps everything synced up. And now below here is kind of what you choose. It's basically what you choose to sync up. So what things on your iPad you want to be synced with your iPhone. So contacts is a really good one to have on. If you want all of your contacts that are on your phone to also be on your iPad, that's good to have there. Calendars, obviously, you're probably going to want access to your calendars no matter where you are. So if you left your iPad at home, or if your iPad's dead, you're going to want to be able to see those calendars on your iPhone. So that's another good one to have on as well. The rest of these, it's kind of just personal preference. If you have any specific questions about them, let me know. So for the few of you who have an Android phone, this calendar function isn't going to work so well for you. You can still turn it on, but it's not going to sync the calendars that are on your iPad with your Android phone. So the way to get around that is actually to not use your iPad's calendar and to actually use a different calendar. So let me show you what I mean by that. We go over on the left-hand side here and click on Mail, Contacts, and Calendars. Now this brings up all of your accounts. So anything you use for mail or calendars or notes, this brings up all of those accounts. So we click on Add Account right here. Now let's say you have a Gmail account and your Gmail account automatically comes with a calendar. So I'm going to click on Gmail. And after you enter in all this information, it's going to give you a screen that asks mail, and you can toggle on or off, and then calendars, and you can toggle on and off. So if you toggle on the calendars, what that's going to do is it's going to take that Google Calendar and it's going to put it right into your iPad. And then you can do the same thing on your Android device, so then your calendars are synced. So if you Android users, if you have any questions about what I just said with that, please let me know and I can go over it in a little more detail. But basically, if you have an Android phone, you're going to want to make sure that you've added an account here and you're using that account's calendar. So if it's a Microsoft Exchange account that you're using with your company, or if it's a Gmail account, or some other type of account, you're going to want to use that in this section, the Mail, Contacts, Calendars section. Okay, so in the iCloud section, one of these options here is Mail. You actually can't sync your mail accounts all in a bulk. What this mail is actually asking if you want to have a free @me.com or @icloud.com account. So if you want to sync your mail across devices, that's actually pretty easy. You just have to set it up on each device. So to sync your mail, you'll just go to Mail, Contacts, and Calendars on here and add your account. And then you'll do the same thing on your iPhone and add your account. When you're on this iCloud tab over here and you're looking at mail and toggling it on and off, that's just for one email account. That's a free account that you can get with your iPad. Most people just keep that off and don't use that account. I'm one of the rare people who actually use that. All right. So I'm just going to go back to my home screen here. So I wanted to share a little bit about, let me turn on my webcam here so you can see me. How about that? So I wanted to share a little bit about what your iPad is. So your iPad is really a mobile device. It's not a full-blown computer. So everything that I'm going over in this class, I'm going to show you primarily how to do things on the iPad, but there are still some things that you're going to want to do on your computer. One of those, for example, would be Dropbox. So this is Dropbox.com. I'm just on my computer right now on Dropbox.com, and you can see there's a sign up button here. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's another button that says download. What you want to do with Dropbox is you want to actually download it to your computer. And the same, with the same way, you also want to download it to your iPad, but you really get the full functionality out of Dropbox by downloading it both to your computer and to your iPad. So I'm guessing most of you are familiar with Dropbox, or at least have an idea of what it is. So basically, what Dropbox is, and I'm going to be switching a little bit between my iPad and my computer. So this right here is my computer with the, with the pretty background. This is my computer. So then if you see this with the, this with the iPad screen, now I'm on my iPad. So I'm going to be switching back and forth quite a bit. So if that gets confusing, please let me know. Okay, so what Dropbox is, it's a cloud storage device. And basically what that means is, rather than storing files on your computer, in your My Documents folder or in your My Pictures folder, rather than storing that on your computer, you're storing it on your own personal filing cabinet that exists somewhere else that you can access from anywhere, anytime, as long as you have an internet connection. So that's basically what Dropbox does. So what you want to do is sign up for a free account on Dropbox. It's, again, completely free. Once you hit a storage limit, you have to pay, but hopefully with some of the techniques I teach you today, you won't have to ever hit that limit. But you're gonna want to scroll down to the bottom and click download. And basically what that does is it just makes Dropbox 1,000 times easier to use. So when you go and you download Dropbox, you never really have to go to the Dropbox.com website ever again. It lives on your computer and it basically becomes just like another folder on your computer. So instead of saving something to the My Documents folder, you're just going to save it to your Dropbox folder. And I'll show you a little bit of that in action. So let me switch over here to Dropbox on your iPad. So we're just going to go, this is my Dropbox icon right here, and I just downloaded it for free from the App Store. So if you just click on that, this will bring up my Dropbox account. Now, it doesn't matter if I'm looking at my Dropbox from my computer or from my iPad, it's showing all the same documents. That's because all of these documents are in this filing cabinet, and the filing cabinet lives up in the cloud somewhere. So I have an internet connection on my computer, and I have an internet connection on my iPad. So I'm just going up to the cloud and accessing my documents from there. They're only in one place. I can just see them from no matter where I am. So over on the left-hand side here, these are all my folders. So I mentioned that Dropbox is just like any other filing cabinet that you use, any other file organization system that you already have on your computer. It's just the same. So we scroll through here and you see that I have folders. Right now I have over on the right-hand side, this is like a preview pane, kind of like an Outlook. If you have that preview pane, so you just have to click on an email instead of double-clicking to open it. So this is just previewing a PDF document. You can tell that just where it says .pdf right up here. But I've also, you can see I've got an Excel file in here. I've got some Word documents in here. And I can just click on any one of these and it'll bring up a nice little preview here. So another great thing about Dropbox, you may notice that some of my folders just look like regular folders, and then some of them have people on them. So the folders that have people on them are folders that I have shared with somebody else or that somebody else has shared with me. So that means that even though they're in my filing cabinet, more than just me can access these files. And you can do that pretty easily from Dropbox when you have it installed on your computer. You can pretty easily just right-click on a folder and hit share, and that will share your folder off. So that's just an overview of how Dropbox works. Now, Dropbox, you can't really do much editing. Dropbox is really, again, it's just like a filing cabinet. It's not a word processing machine. It's not a photo editing machine. All it is a filing cabinet for you to keep your files and access your files from no matter where you are. So if we want to be able to edit these documents, we're going to have to go to a different app. So I'm going to go back to my home screen. Right now I'm just going to go over some of the main apps to get yourself familiar with, and then we'll go through the process. So Google Drive is very similar to Dropbox. It's just like a filing cabinet. Has a little bit more functionality, but for our purposes today, I'm going to be just talking about Dropbox when it comes to organizing your digital life. So the second main app that I really want you to focus on is PDF Expert. So PDF Expert is available in the App Store. It's $9.99, so basically $10, very reasonable price, and it will change your life. So we've got kind of a similar thing going on here like Dropbox. So over on the left-hand side, you can see we've got some options and some selections, and over on the right-hand side, we've got some folders, and if I click on one of these documents, it'll pull it up onto a full screen. Now, what I can do from here is quite a few things. So PDF Expert is a PDF annotation, PDF editing app, basically. So what I'm doing here is I have this document, and if I want to put text on it, I can click on the little text icon. I can choose my font face to whatever I want. I can choose my font size, my font color. You kind of get the picture here. So I can do that, and then I can just click on here, and I can write draft, confidential, whatever you want. You can type whatever you want on here. But it's not just that you can do. You'll see right up here it has shapes. I can draw shapes on here. And I'm just doing this all with my finger. I'm trying to use my mouse to show you where I'm typing, but this is just all with your finger. just on your iPad. You can also, over here is the nice little highlighter or pen tool. So this is the pen. You can choose kind of your color, you can choose the thickness, and then this is the opacity. So I can choose, if I did 25%, it'd be kind of more like a highlighter. And if I did 100%, it would be more like a pen. So everyone kind of see how that works? There's also, if you just put your finger somewhere on a document that you're editing and you just tap and hold. So you just put your finger down and hold it there. It's going to pop up with this. It gives you a couple different options: note, text, signature, stamp, image, sound, paste. So you can actually put images straight into a PDF document. You can also do stamps, which I think are pretty cool. So under the standard tab, you can choose these things. So instead of having to type out draft, I could have just clicked on draft. But you can also make custom stamps, and they can be just words that you make, or you can actually put in a date and time. So if we go up to this little plus icon, we can say we want to make a text stamp. And let's say you were using this to follow up with a short sale. You could type in called lender. Oops. And you could actually, where it says date and time, you could actually turn on the date and turn on the time. And what that will do is it'll actually input the current date and time into that stamp whenever you put it in. So if I hit done and I hit call lender, it's going to put it in with the current date and time. And if I were to go in a couple minutes later and I were to do it again, all I would have to do is press and hold, hit stamp, and then hit call lender again. And it would have the current date and time every single time I put that stamp in. And you can easily delete things too. I can just click on all of this stuff that I've done and just get rid of it. I can move it. I can resize it, whatever I want to do. Okay, so that is PDF Expert. So I'm going to use up here on the top left, I'm going to hit Documents. And you'll notice I have some folders here. So let me show you where the real power of PDF Expert comes into play. So I'm still in PDF Expert. I'm going to go over on the left-hand side here, and I'm going to click on Network. And what you're going to do, if you're setting this up for the first time, is you're going to click on Add, and then you're going to click on Dropbox. And then it's going to connect with the Dropbox app on your iPad. And it'll show up here. It says under favorite servers. Servers doesn't really make sense in this scenario, but you'll see the really familiar Dropbox icon and your name, and that's how you access your Dropbox. Now what you can do is you can actually sync your Dropbox with PDF Expert. So not only is it a folder in here, but it's actually synced. So let me show you why that's important. So if I click on my name, I can go through here and I can click on RE stuff. And then I can go up to the top right here and I can click on sync. And right now it's already synced. But for you, it would spin for a little bit and it would say, okay, this is all synced. So now, if I go back over here and I go over to my main documents page, you'll notice this little folder here. Now, if you're at all familiar with Dropbox, you'll recognize this green check. This basically means everything's synced up and good to go. So this folder right here is the same RE stuff folder that's in my Dropbox. So what I can do is I can actually open it and I can see all these folders that are in my Dropbox. And then I can also open up one of these. You can see I was playing with it before. So I can open up one of these and I can edit it, make any changes that I want. And the second that I click on RE stuff right here, let's make a change. So let's just scribble on here a little bit more. All right, so we made a change to this document that's in my Dropbox. Now, the second I go up here and I click on RE stuff to go back, you'll notice for just a split second here, it'll have that orange syncing icon. Did everybody see that? And then it'll turn into a green checkbox. So what this means is now I'm all synced up again. So even though I just made that big scribble marker in the center of this page, it took literally less than 4 seconds and it's synced back up into my Dropbox. Does anybody have any questions about that, or was that confusing, or do we have it? kind of what that means and the syncing between Dropbox and PDF Expert. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you more of the fun stuff. So I'm back onto my computer right now. I'm just in my Google Chrome browser. And let's say I'm working with a buyer and I'm searching for the property, for the properties that we want to go view. So I want active properties between 400,000 and 550,000. I've got my zip code. Let's say I want at least 3 bedrooms, and I want at least a 2-car garage, and I want a, private pool. Okay, so now I view my results. And I'm going through here and just finding the properties that I want to take my buyers out to find. And these are all the properties I want to go to. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to hit print. And you can decide, this should look familiar to everybody, you can decide what you want to display on here. You can hit preview if you want to preview what it's going to look like. So here's all my listings, right? So then what I'm going to do at the bottom here of Flex MLS, you see this little icon that says PDF. So just go ahead and click on that, and that's going to download a PDF right to your desktop or your downloads folder. So you can see it starting now. And it may look a little bit different. If you're using Internet Explorer, I think it pops up with like a yellow bordered thing at the bottom. So it'll look different depending on what browser you're using. I'm on Google Chrome, which is a free browser, and I highly recommend it. I have all these nice plugins in here that make my life easy. So I'm using Google Chrome right now, so mine show up down here. But if you're using something different, it basically just goes into wherever your downloads go. So now that it's done downloading, I'm just going to click on it. And so now I have this nice PDF document that has all my information on it for all the showings that I'm taking my buyers on this weekend. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do File, Save As. And you remember how I said by downloading Dropbox, that really made it just like a My Documents folder on my computer. So all I have to do is go to my Dropbox folder, which is just another folder on my computer, and it saves it in Dropbox. So mine happens to be over here. I'm on a Mac, so yours will look a little different. You might have to go to like this drop down, but you basically just find your Dropbox folder, and now you should recognize some of these folders. I'm going to go into my RE stuff folder because that's the folder I have synced with PDF Expert. You'll probably have your folders named different things. It just kind of depends. So let's say I'm going to say this is for the Smith, and this is for our tour on 7/27/13. So this is for my buyers who I'm taking out this weekend. So all I did was File, Save As. I'm just going into my Dropbox folder just like it was any other folder, and I'm going to hit Save. All right. And now I'm going to jump right back over to my iPad. So now the day has come for Saturday for our listings. I'm out with my buyers. All I do is open up PDF Expert. Let's just get back to our documents here. And I go into my RE stuff folder. And give it just a second, and you see how that just popped up? So I just saved this a second ago on my computer. I didn't have to do anything. I just opened up my app, and it synced up. So now I'm just going to click on this. And now I have all of my listings here. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and it kind of stops me. So then I just take my finger, and I take it and drag it to the left, and I'm just going to the next page. So just like that. So just drag over, scroll down, drag over, scroll down. So now another cool thing with PDF Expert, if we get to this house and my clients look at it and say, no, we don't like this neighborhood, this isn't going to happen, what you can do is you can hit this little icon right up here, and you can actually see every single page that is in your document. So if this house they decide they don't want, I can just hit edit, and I can click on it, and this extra page right here, and I can just hit delete. And I say, yes, I'm sure. And then those are gone. We're not looking at those properties. We don't care. And if I want to get rid of this extra page here, I can hit on that and I can hit delete and I can get rid of that. So then I'm just going to hit done to go back to my sheet. I'm going to hit close. So let's say we go for a showing and this is our first property on our list. So what I can do now, this is where your guided access comes in. So if you had turned guided access on, what you could do at this point is you could go to your home button and you could click this 3 times. So you click it 3 times really quickly, 1, 2, 3, and it kind of shrinks down and it shows this right here. And basically this is saying, do you want the person that you hand over your iPad to be able to touch the screen? And do you want them to be able to turn the screen? So I'm going to say yes, I want them to be able to touch the screen, but I don't want them to be able to turn it. And then I'm going to hit start. And so what that will do is if I try and click my home button, it won't let me. It says guided access is enabled. And it won't let me get back to the home screen. So now this locks your clients into being in this app. So now your clients can walk around. They can look at this information. They can go to the next page as soon as you get to the next property, and they can make their own notes. So if they wanted to start typing in here any notes that they have about different things, like let's see, they could take their pen or their highlighter and they could highlight the square footage. They could go through and say, nice kitchen. They can do whatever they want with this. What they can also do is they can go right up here at the top in this little area and they can press and hold with their finger. And of course you'd be showing them this. So they press and hold with their finger and then they just hit sound. Oops. Okay, apparently my mirroring thing won't let me show you this. But basically what happens, let me stop this so I can show you. So what happens when you, and I'm sorry that that doesn't show. So what happens when you press and hold and hit sound is it just starts recording whatever is being picked up by the iPad microphone. And so while you're recording, you can actually still scroll up and down. It'll just record everything you're saying while you're scrolling through here. And then when you're done, you just click the stop button, which will appear that I can't show you, but there'll be a stop button there. And you just click stop and then it saves the recording right there. So now, and I don't know if you can hear this, but now if I click this, turn my sound up. All right. So if I click this, what it will do, I have my sound down, but if I click this, what it will do is it'll actually play that recording. So you can actually hand your iPad to your clients. If they want to make notes on this, they can. If they don't want to make notes, they can just hold down and hit record, and they can record all their thoughts as they're walking through. And meanwhile, they still have all the information here, so they can say, oh, well, that looks weird, and then let me go look, and oh, what were the taxes again? And they can look at that. And they can look and say, what was the list price on this again? And can look at that information. And they can just hold on to this iPad as they walk through the home. And then after you're done with the showings, all you have to do is, again, click this home button 3 times, so 1, 2, 3, and it asks you for your passcode, which you set when you turn on guided access. Excuse me. So you do that, and then you just go up to the top left and you hit end, and now you have full access to your iPad again. So now if I wanted to get out of this, I could get out of that, and again, I just hit back to RE stuff, and it's syncing, and now it's synced. So just the same as before, if I go back to my computer, and again, I'm on a Mac, so it'll look different for you. But if I go back to my computer and I open up RE Stuff, and I open up, oops, I already had it open. And I open this up, you'll see, remember that property that we took off before was somewhere in here, and that property is gone now. And if we go this house, you can see all the edits that your clients made. You can see anything that they highlighted, and you have access to the sound file, possibly. So what you can do from there is you can compile a nice email with pictures. There it goes. So what you can do from here is you can compile a nice email with pictures. You can attach this document for your clients, and you can just kind of summarize what you saw, what they thought about the different properties, if any have gotten knocked out of the running, if there's any you want to see again, or ideally, if there's any you want to put an offer in. So any questions going from the MLS sheets to PDF Expert with your buyers? All right. I'll give you a couple more minutes if you have any questions. Okay. So now that you've gone through the tours and you've found a property that your buyers are ready to put an offer on. So now there's two different ways. And yes, sorry, a question just came in. Yes, I did all of that in PDF Expert. All I did was save the file in Dropbox, then I accessed all of it, edited it, did everything all from PDF Expert. So now hopefully you're at the point where you're ready to write an offer. So you can do that one of two ways. If I go to the home screen of my iPad, what I can do is I can actually go to Safari, which is just your web browser, and I can type in m.zipformonline.com, and I can actually access Zipform Mobile. Now, in order to access this, you're going to have to go to zipform.com first and buy it. Unfortunately, it's not included with AAR's contract with Zipforms, but it's a whopping $13 a year. So for $13 a year, you can have access to Zipform Mobile, which looks like this. Now, another little trick for the iPad, something that you're probably going to want to do is have access to all your favorite websites right from your home screen. You won't have to type in the URL all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit this little button right here, which is a rectangle with an arrow coming out of it. It's called the open in function. And then there's an option that says add to home screen. So if I click that, I can actually rename this my zip forms or whatever you want to name it. And then you just hit add. And what that does is it actually puts an icon right here on your desktop. And when I click on that icon, it'll take me right to that web page. So even if I were to close this out and get out of it, yeah, so have it up here. I click on that icon and it takes me right there. So I mentioned earlier, you're ready to write a contract, so there's two ways to do it. One is by using Zipform Mobile. So you're going to hit new. You're going to type in the listing. Let's just use the MLS number of one of the ones we are looking at. If you have any templates, you can use those, or you can go through and add the form individually. So we're just going through here. We want the residential purchase contract. So we click on that. Nope, not that. There we go. We hit back. We open up our contract. Now it gives us the options to edit, view, send, or delete. We're going to want to edit it because obviously it's missing some information. If you have MLS Connect set up, you can always hit more from right up here and do import MLS listing data and import that information in. But you can basically go through just like you would fill out any other contract, check the boxes, and you can do all of this right from your iPad. We'll just say it is Joe Buyer. All right. So you go through, you fill out your whole contract. You're going to want to hit save to make sure you have this for later. And this just saves it in your zip forms. It doesn't save it anywhere else. Then what you're going to want to do is hit this little magnifying glass that says review. And when you do that, what it does is it opens it up into a PDF document, which is a wonderful thing to have because you have PDF Expert. So when it first opens, it has this little bar showing up. So all you have to do is kind of tap your finger up towards the top and it'll bring this bar up. And then what you're going to do is you're going to hit open in PDF Expert. And then it opens this document up into PDF Expert. And from here, you can go through to whatever pages you need to initial, whatever pages you need to sign. And you can just take your pen right here and you can have your buyer, Joe Buyer, just with their finger, or if you have a stylus, you can have them go and sign their name just like that. And get signatures right there using your iPad. So you don't have to use eSign, you don't have to use DocuSign. You just saw the house, you're sitting in front of your client, you can have them sign it right there. And then from here, it's really easy. You use this little square with the arrow coming out of it. And what you can do is you can say open in. And you always choose flatten copy. So you choose open in, flatten copy. And then you can put it in your Dropbox. And you can choose the folder. So I would go into my Joe Buyer folder. And we could name it offer for whatever property it was and just hit save. And then it's right in there in your Dropbox. Now I'm going to go back to PDF Expert and I'm just going to do my multitasking gesture. So I'm going to take 4 fingers and slide over and get right back to PDF Expert. Now let's say I didn't want to put it in my Dropbox yet. We're in a hurry. We want to get it sent off to the listing agent. So then I hit this button and instead of doing open in, I can just hit send by email. And again, you choose flatten copy. And now it opens up my email client and I can send it straight off to the listing agent. And send it off and it is done. Now, of course, the other way to do that would be to pull up zip forms. I'm back on my computer now. So the other way would be to actually pull up zip forms on your computer. Do anything you need to do, and it might be a little faster to do it this way. You can type in a little bit faster. And once you get all that information filled out, then there's this magic Save as PDF button. You just hit that, you hit export, and again, it brings up your file browser. You just find your Dropbox folder, put it in the folder that you need, name it, and hit save. And then again, it's in that Dropbox folder, so you just have to open up PDF Expert and it's there and you can get it signed. So any questions about getting documents signed for your buyers or for your sellers using Dropbox and PDF Expert? Okay, so I had a question about, so you never have to use DocuSign or eSign with PDF Expert. The only time you would have to use DocuSign or eSign is if you're not with your client. So basically, if your client is in Canada and you're here, they're not there in front of you to use their finger to sign on your iPad. So they won't be able to use PDF Expert to sign it. If they have PDF Expert on their own iPad, they can. But for our purposes, you'll probably want to use DocuSign for that. So you'll use DocuSign if it's more of a distance challenge. And you'll use PDF Expert if you're still with your client, multiple offer situations, you want to get that offer in as quick as possible. So you just saw the property, you get the contract put together, and you're sitting there right with them and they sign it. Okay, another question that I had was about Excel files and saving it into PDF Expert. As far as I know, Excel will only, or PDF Expert will only take PDF documents, but let me try it. Nope, I lied. So yep, if you have an Excel document, it won't really let you edit the Excel document like it's an Excel document, like you can't select individual cells, but it basically just flattens the Excel document and kind of makes it into like a printed PDF. And you can open that in PDF Expert, yes, and edit it and make whatever changes you want using your pins and text and tools. So yeah, even if it's an Excel document or a Word document, you can quickly get those into PDF Expert as well. You just may not be able to edit them like you think you should. All right. So I'm going to move on with the last couple minutes that we have here. I'm going to move on to using your iPad for sellers. All right. So what I want to show you now is basically a way to do a living CMA. So if you're with your, you're going to your listing appointment and you want to impress your seller, of course. I've heard a lot of agents who either you have trouble deciding what to price the property at, or the seller really doesn't agree with you and they think their house is so much better. So here's kind of a way around this. So I'm just going to go into my Safari browser, and again, I'm on my iPad. So we're just going to get out of this. So I'm going to go to narrpr.com. And again, you can use your little function right here and do add to home screen to make a shortcut on your desktop. So once you're in RPR, and if you haven't heard of RPR, this is a completely free tool from the National Association of Realtors. It's a robust property information. So I'm just going to show you a little bit of what you can do. So over in here, you can type in an address, a zip code, or an MLS listing ID. So I'm actually going to take one of the listings that was with Joe Byers' tour. I just put in the MLS number and hit search, and it brings the property right up. Okay, so a couple of things to be aware of with this. So this property happens to be on the market. So over here, it says list price. Even if it wasn't on the market or had never been on the market, you would still be able to find this property. So over here, this is the value that I really want to draw your attention to. This is called the RVM, or the Realtor's Valuation Model. This value is the most accurate value estimation model for pricing properties. So you can see right now the list price is $425. The RVM is $431. So it's off by about $6,000, which is nothing. So it's a very, very highly accurate model of pricing properties, of what the value of the property should be worth. So if you took this, RPR is a huge, huge thing, and I have some recorded webinars on it if you're interested in learning more about it. I'm going to just cover really, really quickly when you're working with your sellers. So what I'm going to do is actually show you how to adjust this RVM. So let's say you go in and, the second you print something, it's old, right? So if I were to print a report and give all the CMAs and all of that and show that to my sellers, the second I print it, it's old. The house next door could have just sold, or I may not have known that the seller just redid their pool, or I may not have known they just redid their kitchen. And so then I have to be like, oh, well, when I get back to my office, I'll factor that back in and I'll send it to you. That's time that you don't have. So your sellers want immediate gratification, right? So what we're going to do is, let's just say you go down to your listing appointment, and you don't have to use this. Let's say we go to refine and basically say that we think the RVM, that 431 value, is really close, but we want to adjust it a little bit. So what you can do from here is you can adjust the value of the property in 3 ways. You can adjust it using basic facts, by doing home improvements, or by refining market conditions. And then you can get a report on any one of these. So if the privacy in this home is much better, all I do is click to move these sliders. And you can see down here how it's adjusting the price. And if I scroll back to the top, it'll show you the refined estimate of the property. So what this comes in handy with is you can prepare all of this and you can get your price ready to go before you get to your listing appointment. But then if you get there and your client says, but we just redid the kitchen, you can go over here and you can hit Edit Home Improvement. And you can say that you just did a major kitchen remodel and it was upscale. And they just did it in February of this year. And they spent 40 grand. And hit add. So that just added $23,080 to the price of the home. So now you have this information for your seller and you can say, I know that you spent $40,000 on your kitchen remodel, but HGTV is wrong, and spending $40,000 on your kitchen does not increase the price of your property exactly $40,000. So it increases it $20,080. And where this information comes from is two places. There's a company called Henley and Woods, which is a national company that actually does research on down to the zip code level on how different home improvements affect the values of properties. So you can do the same thing with the same date, same cost, but do it in a different zip code. You could do it in 85251 and it might be different. You could do it in Glendale and it might be even further different. So down to the zip code level, it's a wealth of research that shows you exactly how that increases the value of the property. So you can be with your client and you can show them this. You can go through and show them charts and graphs about how the estimated value of their property has changed based on different market conditions, different comps. And you can walk your client through all of this. So you don't need to print it out. You don't need to print out your CMA. You can show them all this information, how many distressed properties are in the area. You can show them all of this information right from your iPad. So any questions? I did a completely quick overview that doesn't even do justice to the system whatsoever, but does anybody have any questions on just what I went over with RPR? And you can always hit get a report. This makes a PDF for you that you can use. So again, if you wanted to use PDF Expert and you wanted to let them mark it up, or if you wanted to record notes on it, you could do that as well. All right, and I do have recorded webinars on RPR, so if you're interested in learning more about it, that is on our website. It is completely free. It's a website, so you'll just go to narrpr.com. It's from the National Association of Realtors, so just enter in your NERDS number and your last name, and you're all set up and ready to go. All right, so I'm going to go back to the home screen. So another thing that you may want to use in your listing presentation is some sort of great visual or something to keep the attention of your clients. So Prezi, which is right here, and Haiku Deck are two great apps that I recommend. They're both free. Just download them from the App Store. They're really great visual apps that you can use during your listing presentation. So a Haiku Deck is pretty simple. You basically search for a good image and then overlay text on it. So let me just show you. This is one of the ones that just comes with the app when you download the app. So basically we just have this image and then we just swipe the screen and go to our next one. So you just have a nice pretty background image with some text overlaid. So it's really quick, really easy to do and to set up. And it really just helps because, I went to this presentation where the woman was talking about how everybody is so screen addicted. And in their room, there happened to be a huge projector screen, but the presenter didn't have anything projected on there. And she even said, I'm 10 minutes into my presentation right now or my talk right now, and half of you are still staring at the screen waiting for something to happen. Nothing's going to happen up there. But people are so screen addicted and they want that screen or that interaction. You just need to cater to it. So use some sort of visual when you're doing your listing presentations, and pointing to a piece of paper isn't necessarily a visual, but scrolling through something that looks nice, that has great pictures, great illustrations on it is perfect. Especially if you have something like, great photos from other high-end listings that you've taken. You can show them, look how beautiful I can make your house look. Show them the great pictures that you can do. Show them all the different things that you can do for them to market and sell their property. So that is Haiku Deck. Like I said, it's really easy to make. All you do is hit this little plus button right here. You name it. and then it'll just load in, and then all you do is you pick a theme. So we'll just say we want cinematic, and then you just put in text, you put in pictures, so you can just search for whatever you want. So you can put Arizona cactus in there, whatever you want, and you can just search for images that are free for you to use, and you just grab what you want and drop it in there, and then go to your text, and you can tap on your text and type in whatever you want. And you can change the format, so if you want bullets, you can do that. You can go over here and select how it appears, so if you want it to be split, you can split it, centered, top, whatever you want to do. All right. So another presentation tool is Prezi. Prezi is easier to use on the computer, but you can use it just on the iPad. But basically what Prezi does is, instead of thinking of a presentation as slide after slide after slide after slide, like PowerPoint or even Haiku Deck, what it does is it thinks of presentations like a giant whiteboard. So you have a giant whiteboard filled with things, and then you just zoom into those different areas. So the animations on Prezi are a little more interactive. What I also love about Prezi that you can't do with anything else is you can embed videos. So if you do awesome tour videos or listing videos, or anything like that to market your properties that you want to include in your listing presentation, you can embed it right into your presentation. So rather than having to be like, oh, okay, hold on 1 second while I go find the video on my website and pull that up, it'll be right in your presentation. So you'll literally just click a button, and then there's your video, and it starts playing. So that's one unique thing about Prezi. And again, that's completely free. One other app that I want to show you, we're super running out of time, so hang in there for me. So one other app that I want to show you is the Realtor.com app, specifically the agent features. Okay. So what the agent features basically allow you to do is collaboratively search with your clients. So if you have current buyers, or even after they've closed, anytime they go on and they start looking at properties and they hit that button that says contact agent, you can make sure those always go to you. So even 5 years from now, if they still have their iPad and they're still on their Realtor.com app, and they start looking around at different houses and they click contact agent, they're getting serious about buying again, or maybe moving or possibly selling their own property, it's going to keep you in the loop. So all you have to do is hit the agent features button and hit get started, create your account. It's all completely free. And then when you start, and then all you have to do is type in your client's email address, and it will send them an email or even a little pop-up on their Realtor.com app that say, is this your agent? And they just check it and they say yes, and then they set it and forget it. And then they basically forget that they even did that. But then every time that they say contact agent, that goes to you. You can also find listings for them and send it right to their Realtor.com app. So you can say, oh, I found this property, I think you'll really like it, and it'll go right to them. Okay, so I'm kind of out of time, but I want to make sure that I answer any questions that you guys had. So let me look through my questions here. Okay, so one of my questions was why Dropbox instead of Google Drive? When it comes to what software you're going to use or what apps you're going to use, sometimes popular is better just because of the fact that it's popular. And why that is because software developers, there's all these different apps and all these different plugins, and there's, think about how many software programs you know of off the top of your head. There's so many out there. So what developers do when they develop new apps is they choose the most popular apps to integrate with. So PDF Expert is integrated with Dropbox. Because Dropbox is the most popular. And so chances are that if you're in any other app that you would ever need to grab files from, or you would ever need to put files into, chances are it's going to be integrated with Dropbox because that's the most popular. Google Drive is a great product and it does things that Dropbox can't. And I personally use both. But I think for ease of use, it's better to just choose one. And I would go with Dropbox just because it's more likely to be integrated with more things. When you have the PDFs open of the MLS tier sheets and you're going through and your clients can make notes, yeah, you absolutely can keep all of those notes on there and compile them. You don't have to delete anything if you don't want to. For what I'm doing right now on my computer to show you my iPad, it's an app called Reflector. This is the icon over on the left here, if you can see that. It's only for Macs. So if you don't have a Mac, I don't think it works on PCs, but it basically is allowing me to wirelessly display my iPad on my computer. Pretty cool. Syncing Dropbox with PDF Expert. So let's go over that again. Okay. So let's get back onto my iPad. Okay, so syncing Dropbox and PDF Expert. So I'm in PDF Expert right now, which I downloaded from the App Store for $10. So I'm in PDF Expert. I click on Network, and then I just hit Add in the top left. And then I click on Dropbox. And similar, if you have a Google Drive and you want to do Google Drive, you can do that as well. Or SugarSync or Box, they're all integrated with PDF Expert now.